In the northernmost part of Europe is the great Scandinavian peninsula, divided by a rugged mountain range. Norwegians are proud of the seafaring tradition which goes back to their adventurous Viking ancestors. Summer days in the Cedars are cool and damp. Most Norwegians are good woodwork homes 7 miles up the deep fjord. Lars and his father will travel by motor log. It's difficult and expensive because of the steep mountains. The poor soil in the short, cool growing season limit the choice of crops that can be raised here. When Lars makes the trip to the bank, he will be old in Norway. The well-placed family on the wide, small farms is a familiar sight in the early weeks of spring. The family's favorite meal, beef and mutton with potato dumpling. Reading and writing are the principal subjects Norwegian children study.
Because we are still devising, inventing with you what it's going to be called. We have tried a number of words. We've tried a market. We've tried an exchange. We've tried a bazaar. We've tried a fellowship. We've tried a number of things. But we'll see. The most important thing that we are here. This is quite a unique exchange, and I'll use that word, although Daniel said whatever that word exchange means, because unlike big fairs, big book fairs, which require big accreditations and not everyone can afford to go, we are trying to come back to the core that is the reader, the author, the publishers as humans, are also working with relatively small cultures, but small cultures that are culturally big, but culturally large. But we are facing quite a number of problems. The challenges, we touched upon some of the challenges yesterday, but one of the biggest challenges is, of course, availability of translators. Because how many translators are there between Hungarian and Norwegian, and Slovak and Norwegian, in both directions, and this is a big issue, and this is an issue that we should be concerned with. Of course, we have been discussing this with the festival, and you noticed yesterday during the reception there were 50 students who were coming. That's in a way an initiative of the festival to build a culture of students, some of whom may become translators, so that we are trying to grow culture not only by reading, by supporting authors, by supporting publishers, but supporting everyone who is part and parcel of that reading process. So what we have today is a presentation of the V4 agencies and publishing houses from Czech Republic, Slovakia, Poland, Hungary. The order is random, and some of the presentations will be shorter, some of them will be a bit longer, but I promise that 10 past 12 lunch starts. If anyone needs to take a comfort break, you know where the toilets are. So we have 5 presentations for the morning block, and the first presentation is from the Petuefi, a cultural agency, Daniel Pál Levente. We have agreed that Daniel will be doing a stand-up comedy for about 20 to 22 minutes, followed by a few questions from me, and then we'll move on. Daniel, is that right? Yeah, of course, funny questions. No, nothing. Daniel, I think you need a microphone, and everyone needs to see you. Come on. Yes, now, please. Because we are streaming, so use the. Yeah, don't worry. Andre will start it. Yeah.
Do you hear me? Do you hear me? With or without a microphone? Yes. Yes. Wait. So good morning. Nice to see you again. It's a little bit. We have some new faces from tonight, and I'm an old-fashioned guy. That's the reason I'm in book industry. And I have no presentation, no digital presentation, because I believe in physical things, just like a book. And I believe, we were talking about, the moderator, that it's a publishing hub or market, and we found a beautiful bird from the Ottoman Empire, which is bazaar. In a bazaar, we have some goods. Not our properties, maybe rights, owns, but we have some goods was written by someone else. Someone else is the authors. And we would like to sell and buy these goods, just like in a bazaar. And in a bazaar, in that culture of being there are so many gifts. Maybe there are some gifts. And I have some gifts for you, because the main thing, I believe, the main thing, what we are doing, what do we do? Talking with each other. We have great discussions with each other. We have pitch forums. We have, 5 minutes, the elevator speeches. Just do buying and selling and buying and selling. That is the literature, the heart chakra of literature, the Frankfurt Book Fair, where so many 500 agents there. When I was there a decade ago, it was a shocking time. Yeah, this is how literature works. This is the experiment when I read a book. Yes, it is. But one thing we would like to do is become memorable. Do something, or just tell a sentence, a good sentence, just become memorable. And how can we reach it? We're talking with the intellectual activism, one part. Or with, with jokes, with stand-up comedy, other part. But the third part, which is really important, and everyone knows, all of us know, that is the book market, on being an agent or being a publisher on a book market, is a really hard physical work. Because we have books. And we have some more books. More and more. It's not enough. We have more books to sell. When we are going to the United States, to India or Cairo Book Fair, which is not, you can't go there with a car, 30 kilograms in your baggage, or 2 baggages of 30 kilograms. You're going there, it's really hard physical work, from Europe to New York, I don't know, and you have all these books. Or you can choose the digital way and the presentation, which could be sometimes better, or you can go to another industry, microchips. It's so small, and just in one suitcase you have all your goods. But this physical work is worth all the energy and all the time, because if we have just something which is memorable for you, and you put in your baggage, in your suitcase, and this magazine, this book, this new experience is something which you get to your home, that was the great thing. Later you can discuss about the price, discuss about the rights, who is the right owner, discuss about the translation. But this is the first thing. As we are just like, we are so similar to NORLA, because we are a national agency. This Petőfi, Sándor Petőfi was a great Hungarian poet of the 19th century, and we have the name, but it's a national cultural agency. And this is we have a directorate for literature, and promote literature for Hungarians, Hungarian literature for Hungarians. It's one topic. The second is foreign literature, translated literature to Hungarian readers. And the third one, Hungarian literatures translated into foreign languages and to all readers of the world. And there's so many things, and we have you know, the crew is not so much. We have so many things to do. We are in Central Europe with a really hard language, no connections. Yesterday evening and night talks were all about where are the relatives, how can we learn Hungarian. Someone started to learn Hungarian. And we are just a small country. There is no small literature, but there are so small countries. And how can we, you know, all of us in Central, Eastern, Northern Europe, and just like, except the Romanians and the Polish, it's really small countries, really small languages, but great literatures. And how can we show to the others this kind? And this is, and one thing, this is maybe the most interesting part for you. Thank you for your help. Long story short, all the information about the agency, the activities of the agency, you can see on the, maybe it's the second page, there is the grants and calls. All the information are online in English and in Hungarian about the translation grant, the sample translation grant for agencies and publishing houses, the sample translation grant for experienced translators and juniors translators, production grant, translation grant for theaters, and travel grant for authors and literary translators. That's all the information. We have the system of all the grants and calls. And one more really important thing, we have a writer's residence or translator's residence in Balatonfüred, near to the Lake Balaton, which is a home for more than 50 translators for a year and more than 20-25 workshops for a year for young translators. It's a long weekend workshop. In a beautiful garden, in a beautiful, it's a small palace near to the Balaton. It's a really nice place. And we started to retailoring all this translation system, all the grants, calls, the cooperation with the translators house, etc. And nowadays we spend circa approximately 400,000 euros for translators and for translations, for every kind of promotion and traveling, and spend money to not just to promote, to publish Hungarian authors in theaters abroad, by publishing houses abroad, or in festivals, because we have a management to send Hungarians without any kind of a translated book, just few translated poems or few translated short stories, to festivals. It's a great opportunity for them. Festivals, just like here, it's a larpula things, not just sell. Yesterday night, every night in this month here in the Authors Reading Month is a connection between the author and the audience. The main part, I think the main part of this beautiful authors here, this is the one translated literary text from them to the audience. And we'll see if the local audience, all the people like them, it works. And this is the reason, same part, vice versa, to send Hungarians to festivals. Later we can see how it works, especially the poetry, especially the theater, how it works, and pitch forums and poetry readings, Because, you know, a good novel, a good fiction book, a good non-fiction book is something on the market. As a publisher, you can sell it. It's a thing it's a business thing. Poetry isn't. But poetry living on the Facebook or living on social media, Instagram poetry, with so many followers, and living on festivals. There are so many literary and poetry festivals all over Europe and all over the world. One of the most famous is Struga Poetry Nights, and the other is the Medellin Festival. Medellin was the capital of the drug business in the 80s, but it's the capital of the poetry business. There's a huge stadium full of people, 10,000 of people there in a football stadium and enjoying poetry, translated poetry. Search on the YouTube, there are some videos of poetry readings there in the Medellin Festival. Sending there once a year a Hungarian poet is something on the stage, just like, you know, you feel yourself as the Rolling Stones. I'm here and fool. So many people, and just read some poetry in my language, in Hungarian, then the translated text, I don't know, on the great monitor. And 3, 4, 5 dozen, thousands of people applauding. This is a rock concert, this is the feeling. You have to find it, and you have to send some poets from your country to Medellin. And the next question, okay, we have these grants, and the next question from you, or from every time, what are the good Hungarians? What are yes, I have some friends here from publishing houses from Hungary. They will tell you which are the best from Hungary. But if I'm just here alone, so many information, so many Hungarian authors, and I have to answer these questions. It's really difficult because I don't know your taste, I don't know your portfolio, I don't know. And for that reason, we started this best of promotional series, just here, all the more than 20 issues are online, absolutely freely. These are maybe, yes, this is subjective things, the best from Hungary, by Jans. I have some with me here about illustrators for the Bologna Book Fair, and the tales, and yes, this child, and the new Hungarian fiction. This is the last one, the last year's fiction, and you can see inside a short description about the a book, then all the basic infos about the book, who's the right owner, who's the publishing house, translated in some languages, some international efforts, etc. Then a portrait, a photo, short bio, and a sample translation from the book that you can find on our web page. You already have our web page in that small handout, and there are crime fiction, there are children's books, there are comics, there are young adult fiction in just one issue, young adult theater plays, etc., etc. You can find, and you can really briefly, you can know Hungarian names, Hungarian authors. And the next question, yes, I'm beloved, and this author, for example, find a beautiful Hungarian name, József. I would like to translate József's book. And who is the right holder? For that reason, with cooperation with the Hungarian associations, all the publishers, and etc., every year we refresh booklet with all the infos, basic infos, with the Hungarian publishers' houses. If you would like to, you know, this is a a collection of all the email addresses, all the post addresses, and mails. And who is the editor-in-chief and etc. It's a most useful booklet about Hungarian literature. If you're interested in, you don't have to Google it because there's no relevant information sometimes. There is. Every year we fresh with some new, or we just erase some old ones. But you can find everything here in it. It's really useful. And we believe, I used some in the speech before, the cooperation. We believe so many cooperations, and we believe bilateral relations. If we give you something, we would like to share this information and would like to make a meeting to in exchange of giving, give back something from your literature. And for this reason, we started 4 years ago the Pestex International Literary Festival in late September. Some of you were there in Pestex, Petr, several times, I think at every Pestex festival. And we would like to invite authors. We started with applications and calls and so many things in early January. And we are searching for big names for the festival, just like Roberto Bolaño, John Ashbery, Zadie Smith, Moyan, etc., the really big names. And we are looking for the young ones who are just interested in to become a part of a European or Central European literary, not a scene, feeling is better. Because you are there with all the others, one from Greece, one from France, one from Portugal, one from, I don't know, Guatemala, one from Japan, and you are a part for, I don't know, 4 days long literary workshop, 4 days long translators workshop, and get that feeling. And this is the most important. This is the beginning point of great friendships, beautiful relations, author-translator relations, maybe loves, and so on. This is the feeling, just like the fellowship programs for publishers. This is the workshops for authors. And if you have somebody in French literatures interested in the Hungarian literatures who is an active poet, but just in the beginning of his or her career, the next decades will be a good, these are the things in the literary history, all the books. Once an author met another and started something. And these are the international, that is one reason we organized this international festival, and we started 4 years ago this Hungarian Writers Residence program. Nowadays we will open in the next few weeks the 11th and 12th residency in Hungary, in Transylvania, and in Serbia, and where we welcome all of your authors. There is a scholarship for all the authors. We pay them all the travel costs. There is the accommodation, which is the writer's residency itself, and there is a scholarship, and in exchange there's just one thing. Yes, doing his work or her work is one thing, and finish the novel in the original language, but give us every week a diary about the experiments. Last week, there was finished, it was really exciting, a couple, 2 poets from Haiti, came not for a big city, not for to the capital, not for a big city of universities, no, a really small Hungarian village of 300 inhabitants. 2 poets from Haiti. It's a really interesting experiment for them, all around Hungarian peasants. And it's just beautiful, you know, countryside there. And this was a really interesting experiment for the mayor of the town as well. But this is something, and this, you know, this residency diary is something in, you know, it's worth to write, it's worth to read it, and this is, you know, a kind of touristical promotion. After they end their residency, we have 3 more applicants for that small village, which the name is Voisló, never heard. 3 years ago, I don't know, there is a Hungarian village with the name of Voisló. And all the Haitians, all the literature scene in Haiti, they already know there is a beautiful Hungarian village with the name Voisló. Okay, that's the point, but we have, which is 12 residencies. Very welcome. Please tell, help the residency program of Hungary just with share this information with your authors. And that's all, please. And we have one exciting place in a monastery, which is 800 years old monastery, Benedictine monastery, which is a beautiful place if you have a Catholic identity, which is necessary to being there, going there. And, you know, it's an experiment. And the last thing, just 1 more minute, we started 3 years ago this continental project, which is, I think, somehow the flagship of our agency. And this is not just a Hungarian literary magazine in English with Hungarian authors. It's a Central European or Central and Eastern European project. Represents so many authors, not just from Hungary, but from Romania, from Serbia, from Poland, from Czech Republic, from Slovakia, from Ukraine, especially from Ukraine, and the Baltic countries. And we believe that this cooperation to make a magazine in English, which is, you know, the modern Latin, it's a common language for us, and we can read each other's literature in English, not all of us, but mainly. And this is a magazine not for us. This is a magazine for the United States. This is the one and only European magazine, literary magazine. The first one was the Paris Review, founded in the middle of the last century by guys named Ernest Hemingway in Paris. And this is the one and only from fresh, translated European literature, Central Eastern European literature, into the United States. This magazine is in more than 600 Barnes & Noble and Book A Million bookstores in the United States. And this is for the United States. If we can cooperate, we started it 3 years ago. I have so many issues with me. It's all the issues are you, different ones. The beast is the fresh one. And if you can cooperate somehow, just suggest me some authors, some names. Yes, from Norway, from the north also. Because we would like to, as a group, as a big happy family in Central Europe, yes, but we have the common history. We have common historical and traditional roots. And if we don't see all these language difficulties and differences between us, we have a literature which is the Central European literature. And if you are, or if I am in New York and would like to represent Hungarian literature to the American audience, tell, I am Central European. Bucharest, there are Slovakia, Slovenia. No, there are Central European literature, which is a complex literature in so many languages. But it represents one thing. And this one thing, what we are here, our literature, our contemporary literature, and if you just give us, or give to the editors some names, we translate all the text, and we send all these authors, all these texts, for the Barnes and Noble bookstores in the US, which is, for a Central European writer, I think it's a great thing to be there, and so on. So I have so many copies here. I think later, after the session in the break, you can choose some of the copies from here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Daniel. This was a lot of information. I was making notes to ask some questions, such as give us a concrete example of how you support your authors. And then the two Haitian poets arrived. So I don't have that many questions that I had before, but I still have a few. So it's wonderful what the Petöfi Cultural Agency is doing. I think I'm interested in how is it with support, a strange question, but I'll explain, support beyond the Petöfi Cultural Agency. So for instance, there may be some support for translators or publishers from regional funds, or maybe, for instance, if someone wants to translate a novel that is from Pécs or from Debrecen, maybe the local authority can provide additional support. So how can we access that information? Would the Petöfi Cultural Agency also help anyone interested in getting into the Hungarian network?
There's so many information on that webpage, yep. The English, Hungarian bilingual webpage. And if these answers, these informations don't fit to your needs, or don't answer your questions, I have beautiful and kind colleagues. There are phone numbers, and you're able to, or please call them or write them a mail with the questions, and we invent, if we agree with that need, if we would like to support that need, we will find how.
Okay, thank you very much. How is it? I know that this will be a big question, but probably something that anyone from abroad will be interested in. What is the system of authors, agencies, and copyrights? Are authors represented by their publishers, or are there dedicated agencies? Are there in-house agencies, or is there one system in?
There is no one system.
So is it case by case?
Yes.
Okay.
Sometimes we know who is the right owner in these booklets.
Yep.
Exact information about the right owners, and sometimes we don't know the information, but we can ask. Okay. And we can answer who is the right owner, maybe the author, him or herself, maybe the publishing house, maybe someone else, maybe there is the international rights are some with an international company. But we can answer all these questions. It's you know, it's not a wall against.
It's a technicality. Yeah, I know that you wanted me to ask you funny questions, but these are not funny questions. I'm aware. I'm very interested in what you suggested in terms of this, kind of cultural identities, because when we think of books, we think of, okay, this is a Norwegian author, this is a Hungarian author, or this is a Polish author, a Ukrainian author, a Slovak author, Haitian author. But you are kind of promoting a bigger regional, kind of Central European culture, and I think there is something very interesting that is happening, kind of creating a unit that goes beyond the national state. Is this really in line with what my limited understanding of Hungarian politics is, which is very kind of nationalist and moving towards that towards a very patriotic voice, whereas you seem to be suggesting, let's move to a bigger cultural unit, if not political one.
Yes, as a publisher, just publish an English language magazine about Hungarian literature. It's interesting for Hungarians, the diasporas, the immigrants, or maybe some university teachers there. But it's not interesting for the larger audience, just the Hungarian, because where is Hungary? From the US, from Chicago or Los Angeles, where is Hungary? Yes, we know some filmmakers and some guys, I don't know, in the Rubik Cube and etc. And Puskás, the football player, that's all. Where is Hungary? And you know, it's a concept one concept is to make this happen, the Central European literature, which is half of Europe, with so many languages, original languages, and there is a funny part in the magazine, how to pronounce these names. If you see the page, this is a Hungarian name, but for an American, János Marnó or Petr Hruška, how can you pronounce it? But we put inside the phonetical to help them, and that is an intercontinental, because in every issue we put a really great, internationally known or really famous American author, just like Abel Ferrara, the cultic filmmaker, or Noam Chomsky, or Marina Abramovich, or Edson and Ford. And for an American in the Barnes & Noble, oh, there is something, Noir and Abel Ferrara. Just $20, okay, I buy it. And later, who is this Petr? Who is this János? But they already bought it with all the Europeans. And you know, the concept is that we can strengthen each other. If we are in the unique cluster in New York, the European Literature Night, there's a European literature there. There are European filmmakers. A decade ago, I gave a lecture in the University of Sao Paulo, and there was the departments. There was a French department, there was the Russian department, the big languages, the German department, and there was the Department of Eastern Languages from Brazil. Eastern language was Czech, Slovak, Hungarian, Turkish, Arabic. Okay, the Department of Eastern Languages. Okay, vice versa, from Eastern literature for the United States. This is the European or Central Eastern European literature for you. And the great selection with the, I think these topics, young and beautiful, grave, prejudice, noir, beast, are really strong topics to make a community, there is some questions to answer it. Really a good selection, and this is that's a small literary magazine. It's really just like a book, more than 200 pages, and it works.
Yeah, it's very interesting that we seem to be working with several models of promotion, because the kind of one of the conventional models of promotion is going by the author's name, the kind of the myth of the solitary genius. This is this author. This is this author. Whereas you seem to be promoting not only that and genres that we know, but also the relationality, the relations between.
Yes, one more example which describes so many things. We have a translator who is translated from Polish to English, and he also is a professor of Slavic department of the Harvard University. And have this magazine with a freshly translated Polish literature to more than 200 students of the university. Yes, we have translated new names from Poland, new Slavic authors for you. And when these university students at Harvard just open the new issue of the magazine, they see, oh, the Romanians, the Hungarians, the Austrian, etc. And this is the way, you know, somehow like this, not straightforward, just with the helping hand of our Slavic translators, a university professor to Slavic university students who would like to learn Slavic language and culture of one of these languages, the Polish language. They just met. They will meet with Hungarians and all the others, and this is a really funny way. Then they just Googling it, searching on social media, and it works. Yep. If it's good literature, and it's high quality translations we have in this continental, it works. Yep. Later we'll see how it works.
Okay. Thank you very much, Daniel. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and I understand that there will be some more books to take away, because are you taking any of this back?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe it's good here.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
All of these down.
Thank you very much, Daniel.
And in the next interval, the next break, it's for you. It's absolutely free, and enjoy.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. The next presentation will be from the publishing house Chimota, so Sándor Szabó. Sándor, and you have a PowerPoint, isn't it? And there should be a clicker. Is there a clicker? Oh yeah, there is a clicker. This one.
I'd like to use this one. Okay.
The clicker.
Good morning. Sziasztok, jó reggelt. Thank you very much for your invitation. I'm Sándor Szabó from Hungary, from Budapest. I'm editor of the Chimota Publishing House from Budapest. And I'd like to show you some of our books. So let's start. Chimota is founded by Dóra Csányi in 2003, and we believe in quality and high standards, aesthetic and special designs, creativity and innovation, awareness, raising taboo questions in the literature, for example, being different, tolerance, life circle, etc. And also one of our main goals is to promote young talented illustrators and authors. This is our group, this is our crew. She is Dora, she is the chief editor, she is Lido, she is the financial director, it's me, and this is a very charming event, because we became the publisher of the year in 2021, and it was I think this is the best picture of us. So you can imagine the other ones. So let's start with the Norwegian connection. We are a proud publisher of Magikon Forlag. For example, Mindenki számít, Everybody Counts, The Grey, szürke, Szia félelem, Hello Fear, and Miért vagyok itt? Why am I here? So we are a small publishing house, but I don't like this word. But we have we have 20 new titles annually, mostly own-developed books. But we are very open-minded to buy Norwegian or other rights. So if you have any good books for us, you can please show me. So because we have some travel issues with Kata, so we lost most of your presentation. So, but if you have any kind of interesting books, we are very interested in them. I would like to show you this book. It's called Where Art is Made. This is the the newest love. We love this book very, very much, and this is a very interesting book. This is oh yeah, you can show for the other ones. This is this book shows the art history of art, and this is for. This is for all age groups because it has a seeking find part, and there is a very useful conversations about art. These are the authors. Her name is Emma Shereves. She teaches the Fine Art University. She's an art historian, and she is the illustrator. Her name is Alexandra Grela. She came from Poland. She's a Polish painter, but her husband is Hungarian. They lived 20 years ago in Hungary. So this is a typical East European story. Love makes good things. I always mention it. So, and this book became so the illustrator became the illustrator of the year. This year there is a beautiful Hungarian book contest in Hungary. She also became illustrator of the year, and the student jury awarded this this book and this illustration for the for this book. I would like to show this book. So this is a story about illustrator. She works at her studio, and there is a little girl, and she asked her about the drawings and the drafts and everything, and they start a conversation about art. And there is I think it's one of the most interesting and most important question: where art is made. I always okay. So. And we start, and this book shows 25 studios, and we can learn, and we can see the trends, the techniques, and the vision of the certain period, as well as insight of the main life. We start at the beginning, and in here, there is a conversation between this illustrator and this little girl, and she's very clever, she's very talented, and she is very curious, and she has many questions. And so you know, it's very useful information, but as well as very funny and very, you know, the children point of view is sometimes more brighter than the adult. These studios always fit the author. So in here, Dürer, you can see this graphical technique, and every picture has unique things. First of all, we can find dog. It was very funny because when we sent the book to the printing house, the author told us that. Did you see that every picture has a dog? And oh, really? I never saw it. So you can find dogs, you can find musical instruments, lighting instruments, chairs, and it's the most interesting part of the book. I think that is there are mistakes. For example, this lady, her swimsuit is not fit in that era. So as a children or as an adult, you have to find the details. And it's very funny when I showed the book for the other ones, and they started to find the mistakes. Sometimes it's very hard to find because, for example, this boot is not a typical boot in that area, but you can find it. And this is the third mistake. So you can find the mistakes, and we can learn the history of art. And we finished with Banksy, with the street art, and it's very interesting. We started at the Altamira cave. We don't know. We have no idea about the author and the illustrator, and this is the same at the street art. At the end of the book, we can find a mistake. So there is a hint for us. So the rights source to Midas Verlag in Switzerland. We have an English samples. So if you are interested in, we are very open-minded. If you want to make your own very typical artist, we can start a conversation about it. So we can add this. So we can do the localization. The second one, it's in Hungarian, is Mese a mindenről, a semmiről és más furcsa mesék. A tale about the everything, the nothing, and the other weird stories. This book awarded so it's listed on the White Raven selection. The illustrator became Illustrator of the Year with the students' jury, and the rights source to America, to the transit books. And this is short stories about funny stories, short stories, and opens the space for interactivity. Each one has a question at the end, and we can open the conversation. We can open our imagination, or we can start independent storytelling. So it was a very funny book. The illustrator, his name is Norbert Nagy. He's an awarded illustrator, and it's very interesting. The third one is she's a young illustrator. Her name is Lilla Turi. This was the first book of her in our publishing house. The title is Amire emlékszem, Things I Remember. Oh, what is this? So, this story is, as the book says, everyone's story begins here at the birth, at the hospital, and Lila, the illustrator, collects her memories, her personal memories in this picture book, and you can and we can remember our own too. So we start at the hospital. And this is, for example, the first journey, the first kiss. I'm a proud owner of this, the original version of this picture, and I think it's the original version is much more beautiful. So we can see these memorable moments of a life. I also bring another one of her. The title is Allo, the horse, and this is the most famous wooden horse of the history. This is a Trojan horse, and the story is the point of view of this Trojan horse. At first, he sees things that he's a gift, but after because he is the gift because of the end of the war. But after he have to realize that it's not the end of the war; it's the beginning of the war. So it's a very interesting picture book. And there is another book. It's called Szabad a nem, the freedom of saying no. And this story shows through the behavior of a dog that everyone is in control of their own body. So it teaches the children that you have the right to say no. And it's funny, and it's very useful. And my last book, we have more books, but I don't want to boring you. So this is in my short presentation, this is the last one, is a homoklakó The title is in English, The Sandman, and this book is about bullying, at the kindergarten, because bullying doesn't start at the school. And there is the main character, the Sandman. He's a real outsider. He who doesn't fit in, who hasn't talked to anyone. And if he had one sentence when he said that hitting children is forbidden. Hitting children is forbidden. There is one section that hitting a child is strictly forbidden, except in one case of choking on your knees with slowly, strong movement in the back. So that's it. Thank you very much. If you can see our books, and if I bring some more, and you can, if you have questions, you can ask me. Oh yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sándor, for a wonderful presentation. Could you speak a little bit more about Chimota's mission? Because you opened with topics, and now that we have gone through some of the titles that you selected, it would be good to hear about how do you commission books, how do you find them, what kind of books are you looking for? And it was wonderful to see the three publications that you have transpublished from Norwegian. So what is the mission?
The mission is publish good books, good children books, and so everybody has this mission. But we believe that we can talk about anything, but we have to find the best way for the children. And you know, the tales help us to speak hard topics. For example, the death, or for example, the bullying, or anything else, or divorce, or being different. And we believe that with beautiful pictures, good illustrations, you can start conversation. So if we have mission, the main mission is to make books about hard topics, which books helps us to start conversation about these things, because we believe that if we start speaking with this very hard first step, we can solve and we can find the solutions.
Okay, wonderful. I know that you mentioned that you missed some of the presentations yesterday because we spoke a lot about finding topics and the openness of Norwegian authors and Norwegian publishers to speak and not to treat children as candidates for humanity, but as full humans. So I know that there will be a big email following this event with shared tips. So I think that there will be connections to make. I would like to ask a question about how you work with the creators, that is with the authors, with the translators. So yesterday we had a discussion with Svein about translating pictures, translating images. So when you translate into Hungarian or from Hungarian, does the translator work with the creator, with the illustrator? How do you work with them?
If we translate the book from a foreign language to a Hungarian, our goal is to publish a good Hungarian book, because we think if we have to translate not just a word, we have to translate the whole context of the text is. So we try to find the best way. I think it's the best example that the Magican Folak has a book, but we have a special
Localization.
Yes, a special localization because we have a special technique called paper theater, kamishibai. It's a very interesting technique. There is a wooden frame, and we can put big sheets of paper in this wooden frame. So we transformed. So it became a. We published the Kamishibai tale from a book. So I think because we believe that that type of storytelling is much more useful, and that's why we can. So we not just translate; we can transport.
Thank you very much. My last question is about working with authors. You mentioned that you keep working with illustrators. But also with authors. So how closely do you work with them when you commission the book?
I think we are in a special situation because we always work together with our chief editor, with Dora, and we speak up loud to each other the text is, and we edited very strictly the text with the authors. Mostly we have long Skype conversations, and we talk all of the sentences because we believe that we have to be a best text. And this is the first round. The second round with the illustrator, and we try to make them as free as possible.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Sándor. Thank you very much. Thank you. So the marathon continues now. We have Ferci Malik. So Ferci, do you have a presentation in the end? Ondro. So while we set up, we'll take probably a minute or two. Before we start, okay. If anyone would like some water, please help yourselves. There is some water. There are some water and glasses here. Please feel free.
Jo, klidně, ono je připravený hnedka tady vzadu, takže to řeknu, že ten komplet, jak se šokaný, tak nastavuje do symbolu. Ale já mám už také redukci, no.
Aha, dobré. Tak to je rád.
Tady je redukce. Tady je tady vůbec zavazí na skutečku. Jo, by se to jmenovat No Name. Jak se to jmenuje? Na stole stačí připít, když tak ukážu, jak já to budu chtít od sebe.
Nakolik to máš?
Vidíš, pojďme, zastavte asi to. No, já si to zapnem těž nějaký Yeah.
Můžem? Teda?
Ak sú všetci ready?
Já myslím, že jo. Já myslím, že ano. Ondro, můžeme?
Oni jenom fungují jako stereo. Dobrý. Jo.
Tak to jako stereo, jo? So, can we start? Shall we start? Wonderful. Ondro, when you say yes, we'll be starting. All good? Yeah, wonderful. So hello again after the break. The next presentation is from Ferci Malik from the publishing house Slovak publishing house Brak, and we agreed it's about 15 minutes.
Yeah. I'm not gonna bore you more. No worries. I see a couple of faces which I know. So my name is Ferci Malik. I'm coming from Bratislava and from organization BRAC. The BRAC was first festival of small, let's say middle-sized publishing houses. And this is just like a really brief, short presentation about the festival. The festival is multi-genre, so there's authors reading, there are concerts, discussions, and it was just like 3 weeks ago, the 10th edition. This is a presentation actually from the 8th, but it was at the same cultural center in Bratislava. We had many guests from all over the world, also Ukraine, also Norwegian. We have exhibitions and why I'm saying it, because the idea was to like 10 years ago, when we think that it's really hard to find the books which we like from the small publishing houses at the bookshops, let's say, or at the festival, because there wasn't such a festival before. So we realized we want to just present these books from these small publishing houses or middle size that which are doing great jobs. They care about books a lot, and we want to show it to the audience, let's say, yeah. And after the and there's like exhibition of these publishing houses. This year there were more than 60 from Slovak and Czech and Ukraine, and yeah, this is thank you. So no. And after 2 years, we realized that we also wanted to publish the book with the same care as we found it in these publishing houses. The first book which we published was actually it's not there. They're from a Ukrainian graphic designers duo called Agravka, and the book was The War Which Changed the Rondo. It's a really famous book published all around the world, and we were the first in our publishing house that published this one. Then we started a couple of editions, and I will go through a couple of them. This is a children edition, or edition of children books called Alma. Alma means in Hungarian apple. We say in Slovakia that the apple doesn't fall far from tree, and Alma is also the soul in Spanish. So we also care with the books, or the books we made. And Alma is also the name of my daughter, so I dedicated this edition to my daughter, which I also care a lot about. This has a laser somewhere. Okay, so this is a book from a Slovak, really great writer, and one of the greatest, let's say, or really good one, illustrator. It's called Escape, Uciek. It was already published in more than 9. It's right now it's I guess 12 or so. Just last year we sell it to Brazil, and you can see why. Because the Brazil publisher found out that this is actually also the dress of a football, representation. So funny, and actually he's also the organizer of a big festival in Rio de Janeiro, where I hope where we are going with. But it was also, I'm sorry for Norwegians, but it was also published in Norwegian, but it wasn't, for example, in Hungary. Let's say, and this is the second book from from them. And just this year, it's going to be published in Thiers Manière, the great French publishing house. But we also translate books. So we bought the rights. For example, this Marceau or this one is also, yeah. Okay, this is an edition of one poetry. It's a contemporary Slovak poetry, which is are mostly young poets. The edition was made with 2 great graphic designers, and we call the young and good photographers, all the time different. So it's also the session with the photographers, so they read the book, and we found the plays, or they're coming to about ideas where to take pictures. This one was in a not right now not existing building, Istropolis. This was in Butchery and stuff. Yeah, this is an edition of contemporary Arabic prose called the Desorient Express. I'm sorry, the Desorient Express, and it's. I'm not sure if you know a couple of names from there. This is Muhammad Shukri, really famous, well-known Egyptian, and this is Hassan Blasim from Iraq, living right now in Finland, and right now they're coming to. There are already like 6 of them. This is an edition of called Outsideria. So this is a prose, Slovak prose. This one is from Daniel Marling. It was translated in Poland and Hungary, and a couple of books from there are coming in English and Czech. It was also a Czech. BRAK also, which I mentioned before. BRAK is actually abbreviation of Bratislavský knižný festival, BRAK, but the BRAK means also like pulp fiction, something not worthy, let's say. And in the past, and sometimes even right now, the graphic novels are considered to be like pulp books, let's say, but we don't think about it like this. That's why we were the first who published the mouse, for example, a couple of years ago. And right now reprint, we published the Persepolis, and we are publishing like good European graphic novels, but also creating our own, which are actually these two, for example. Oh, yeah, and these are actually just it's a bit older, like the year ago presentation. So these books, which is saying that we are working on, they already exist. Yeah, this is, for example, I'm not sure if you, maybe one idea for you. I don't know if you know the Paris Review interviews. So we decided to print them by decades. So we print from 50s, 60s, 70s, and right now there are going to be 80s in this year. Yeah, and this one we already published this year in the beginning, and it's we did not own the rights for this, but I think it's worth it to be published. I'm not sure where are you from, all the one, but this is a story about the first Roma intellectual and writer from Slovakia, coming from like this village. And she was the first who graduated in Charles University in Prague. But in the most important thing is that it's like really, really great written. It's written with romanist, let's say Milena Hubšmanová. She was interviewing Elena Lackova for 8 years, and the story is just amazing. I think it's worth it to be translated. The rights are held by a publisher house Triada from Czech, and I think it should be. But it was, I see, it was also already published in English, French, Czech, Russian, Hungary. So the others are waiting for. Yeah, we already published this one. Yeah, so I guess that's it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ferci. I have a few questions again. So it seems that you started as a festival,
Yeah.
as a kind of agency doing cultural work, and moved to publishing. So, and it's interesting that publishers, and that's a topic that we opened yesterday, the publishers are doing a lot of cultural work because there is a lot of agency in shaping not only the business but also shaping culture itself. So what would you say is what is the mission of BRAC as a publishing house? So how do you shape the world? It's a big one, I know.
There are strong words. I'm not fancy of the strong words, but what I need to also say that before we come with the BRAC, I used to work, and I'm still working with one of the great Slovak publisher called Koloman Kertész Bagala. He's here, and he actually introduced me the work with the books. That he was also saying that it's not just publish the books, but working with the books, promoting the books, working with the other publishers, trying to get together publishing houses, and so it was never just the publishing house, but all those we called actually ourselves like the cultural workers or literary workers, let's say. So and it's also like really, really hard, and when I'm going through the publishing houses in a BRAC, and there are 60, I'm not sure if any of them are or just some of them are just publishers, So a lot of them are doing, I don't know, presentation, lectures, trying to survive somehow, so doing all sorts of things, and with our publishing, it's the same. We are trying to bring like quality books with working closely with all sorts of all the professions. So the graphic designers, editors, illustrators, and working with them closely, trying to pay them fairly, and bringing the books in as good shape as we are able, I would say.
So when you said that you work closely with translators, and you have translated a number of books, and also are working with a number of your own titles translated into other languages, so how do you recruit them? Do you have a group of translators around you, or?
Yes.
I'm not just second guessing. I don't know, but I think it's very important to understand the network.
I'm also visiting the presentation of translators. There is one magazine which was established, I'd say, a year ago, called Versia, which is actually grouping the translators, and I think and I consider sometimes really the translators to be, if it's a good translator and he wanna self-educate and he cares about the language and culture which he graduated from, he's also the master of the culture and the master of the literature over there. So we are listening closely to the translator. Sometimes really the translator brings me the book which he thinks that it's not well sold, but it's important to be translated. And we have a really great gap in Slovak, because many of the books were substituted by Czech translators, even the really from the canon. So I think many other, not just we, but many other publishers had a lot of work. And I think it's really important to be translated in Slovak. So we need to cultivate our modern language. We need to cultivate the translators like Biotop, let's say, and it's important to be translated in Slovak, not just read the Czech translation. We all the one are used to read Czech, but I think it's time to be the books to be translated in our language. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that comment about working with translators and listening to translators, because that's a culture that is not universal. Often translators are only used as mediators rather than as cultural workers, to use your word. Yesterday we had a discussion around over lunch that probably next time we will also ask not only the authors and not only the publishers, not only the agents, but also the translators. What is it? Because these people live on the borderlines of cultures, and they are important cultural mediators. So thank you very much for that impulse. We thought for a little moment that we could do it today, but there is no time on the program, so come next year. I have one last question, and it's about promotion. You spoke about poetry, and of course translating poetry, a problem on its own. Selling poetry.
It's a good,
yeah. But you spoke about the work with photographers and visual artists that kind of give the poetry also some kind of additional medium. Any tips, any ideas, any way in which you can promote Slovak poetry beyond, maybe via?
I'm not sure beyond, but what we are trying hard to get a poetry at the spotlight. We are also organizing a couple of festivals during the year, not just in Bratislava, also in Trenčín, Košice, and many others. We are doing also dramaturgy, literary dramaturgy for a couple of festivals. And we are trying hard to give the how to say, give the spotlight, or say the importance which it deserves, let's say. Even once we tried, we call it poetry intervention. We organize the concert, Midi Lidi, which is really great band from Czech. And then just we surprised the audience by a poetry, this is their poets. and there was a reading, during the concert. Just they start playing, and it was poetry, and they love it. So sometimes you don't know you like poetry. And it's also, I'm not sure if you are familiar with the word metrophobia, which is actually the phobia. Phobia. It's a phobia of poetry. Yeah, so people are really like scared about because of the educational system, because but poetry is something that you should be scared of. But this contemporary, what we are doing, we are also doing the competition, like it's a competition, but it's a Czech and Slovak competition called Básně, which it's like, I don't know, 10 years or so, and we are really calling the poets everywhere, and yeah. But I'm not sure if this is no, I'm not sure. I know that it's not the recipe for it, what I show you, but I think it will. Sometimes in the future, I hope they will deserve it, and because these contemporary poets, I'll show you that they have really like fresh language, and I think they're saying something about the world which surrounds us.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ferci. Thank you. Our next presentation is Claudia Czerluk. Claudia, would you like to come? Do you have a PowerPoint?
I think I have a PDF.
You have a PDF. So Ondra will set it up. Claudia, please come along. So we are moving to Poland now, via Berlin.
I hope it works.
Yeah, I hope too. No, that's not the one. But I have bad news. It looks like Apple.
Yeah, it's this one. Exactly.
Yeah, it showed empty.
And my computer will be as well. So
Yeah.
worst case.
Was scared a bit. Okay. We'll just play it from.
Okay, John, sit over here.
I think it's showing on the computer already, so should you just like
Yes, wonderful. So, Claudia Czerluk from Biuro Literackie. So that's Poland via Berlin. Okay, over to you, Claudia.
Thank you. Hi, nice to see and meet everybody. Can you hear me well? No. I think so, right? Even closer, okay. Cool, yeah. I'm here today on behalf of Biuro Literackie, which is a Polish publishing house. It's an independent publishing house established in 1996. Its mission is promoting Polish literature in Poland and abroad, as well as introducing works of world literature in translation in Poland. Biuro publishes around 40 titles every year, and its books have gained already 200 prizes and counting. And on this photo, I think you know who that is, right? It's Herta Müller, a German writer who received the Nobel Prize. And in 2013, Biuro published her book Collagen, or Kolarze in Polish. So far, Biuro has published over 750 books, and they're usually released in series such as poetry books, such as fiction books, such as comics, books for children as well, and even collections of conversations about literature, and as well collections presenting works of writers, of debuting or young writers, who have not yet published a book-length work in order to help them promote their work. And what's important, it's maybe this slightly mysterious quality of having a work of quality, right? Something that's a bit challenging, something that tackles important societal problems as well, and something that's maybe sometimes a bit more on the experimental side as well, especially when it comes to language. And it's worth mentioning as well that Biuro has been offering ebooks since 2015. The person whom we can see on this slide is Laurie Anderson. She's an American singer, writer, and a pioneer of electronic music. Over a decade ago, Biuro released her book, The Languages of the Future, in Polish translation, including a few dozens of illustrations created by Polish illustration artists. And so far, Biuro has published over 200 books, works of literature in translation. And the most prestigious series in this case is the collection of poetry anthologies, which includes Polish translations of works by poets from virtually everywhere, which is Latin America, Ukraine, Hungary, and the US. And last year, Biuro released a new series called the New European Literary Canon. And the idea is to publish 21 books written by 21 writers, writing in 21 European languages, and translated by 21 translators. And the common denominator that they have is that all of these books were released in their original countries max 20 years ago, and tackle relevant issues and themes such as migration, war, patriarchy, feminism, climate change, and the problems faced by the LGBT community. Here you can see the old town in Gdańsk, a city in Poland, in 2015, where Biuro organized a 3-day-long festival to promote their children's books. And here you can see the party that accompanied the release of Jacek Podsiadło's book for children. And as mentioned before, Biuro publishes books for children as well, and puts stress not only on the quality of the work itself, meaning the text, but also on the visual quality And Biuro works both with established illustrators, but also, which I think is really notable, gives chance to young students of Polish art schools while creating illustrations for these books. And they also publish works by Polish authors and works in translation and poetry as well as prose. Yes, here we're coming to authors. Let's maybe briefly speak about the foreign writers that Biuro has published so far. Biuro publishes both authors who are established on the literary scene as well as debuting writers. And just to maybe drop a few names of the writers they have published so far are Laurie Anderson, whom I've just presented, but also Maurice Blanchot, Bertolt Brecht, Bob Dylan, Philip Larkin, Herta Müller, Ezra Pound, Patti Smith. And last year, the world premiere, meaning in English as well as in Polish translation, of Nick Cave's book, Faith, Hope and Carnage, took place during a literary festival organized by Biuro Literackie. And now let me present a few Polish writers published by Biuro Literackie who received the Nickel Award, which is the most important Polish literary award. The first one is Jerzy Jarniewicz, born in 1958. He's a Polish poet, translator, critic, as well as professor, and he received the Nickel Award last year for his book of poetry titled Mondo Cane, which are his observations on end. It's, I guess, a big open-ended topic. Here, by this I mean his observations on end meaning death, so end of life, but also end of a relationship or of a certain phase in his own life. The next one is Bronka Nowicka, who's a Polish interdisciplinary artist and writer. Her book of poetry, and I should underline it was also her debuting work, titled Nakarmić kamień, or To Feed the Stone in English, received Nika in 2016. And it's a really interesting exploration of relationships between people, and also people and things. And she sort of tries to get into like the metaphysical quality and meaning of things in it. And it's worth mentioning as well that this book got translated into English by Katarzyna Schuster 2 years ago, and it was published in the US by Dalkey Archive Press. The next person is Eugeniusz Tkaczy-Szyndycki, a Polish poet born in 1962. He received the Nika Award in 2009 for his book of poetry, Piosenka o zależnościach i uzależnieniach, which translates to something like a song about dependencies and addiction. And it's his very unique meditation on words, language, and poetry as a discipline. And last but not least, Elżbieta Łapczyńska, a young Polish fiction writer born in 1987. Her debuting work of fiction, it's a collection of short stories titled Bestiariusz Nowochódzki, or in English, The Nowa Huta Bestiary, brought her many literary awards in Poland, among them the Joseph Conrad Award, which is the most important Polish work for a debuting work of fiction. And Bestiariusz, it's a really interesting, somewhat surreal collection of stories of people from rural areas displaced to work on creating and building a steel mill in Nowa Huta, which is a town near Kraków. And it really interestingly tackles and comes into dialogue with the magical realist tradition. So it's like a really interesting contemporary Polish or Eastern European take on magical realism. Yes, and I'm going to speak about this a bit later as well, but Elżbieta applied with this book to POUF, or Pracownia, which is Biuro Literackie program of finding and supporting young writers who have not debuted yet, and providing them with guidance, meaning working with editors in order to bring their books and to I guess, a publishable state, right? And help them bring them to the market. So this is a really big success story for the whole program, for the whole project of Pracownia. Yes, and on top of publishing books, Bureau organizes a literary festival as well since 1996. It's a 3-day-long festival during which the authors published by Bureau get a chance to present their works to the audience. And back in the 1990s, when were the first editions of the festival took place, the readings themselves were pretty innovative, meaning there was live music present during the readings. There was also visual arts presented and even short films being shown. So I guess what was being created is something that today you could call a performative reading, which maybe was not so like widely known and used and done back then. And this year, at the end of September, one of the guests who will be there for the festival, it's going to be Maria Navarro Skaranger. I don't speak Norwegian, I'm sorry. Because her book, Emily Forever, has just been released as a part of the new European Literary Canon series. Yes, just to mention, Bureau is also active as a literary agency that buys and sells rights to books. And to give you an example, thanks to Bureau, works by the Polish poet Tadeusz Różewicz and Grzegorz Kwiatkowski were published in Norway a few years ago, and works by Katarzyna Szaulińska and Robert Rybicki and the aforementioned Bronka Nowicka were translated into English and published on American market, which, as we know, it's really hard to break into. Yeah, a few words now about the educational projects. Every year, Bureau, as a part of the festival, Bureau organizes many educational projects for young writers, translators, critics, and readers as well. And I think it's the most important one that we should mention is Pracownia, so the program that Elżbieta Łapczyńska graduated from. It's a creative writing program or course for emerging writers, and that provides them with guidance. Writers work with experienced editors that help them exactly work on their ideas and their language, And the idea is to publish work of, I think, around 5 to 6 writers every year that graduate from this program. So it's sort of giving them a unique chance to present and publish their work, and it's the only program of this sort in Poland, in whole Poland, that helps young people publish their first work, book-length work. On top of that, Bureau is engaged in creating and maintaining dialogue between European independent publishers and organizing meetings with them and among them. And international editions of Transport Literacki of the festival took place, for instance, in Barcelona, Prague, or New Delhi, so far, to name a few. And I think you will recognize this statue, right? This place on the photo. It was taken in Oslo, where Bureau was twice already, once for the Poesy Festival in Oslo and once for the Oslo Poesy Film with the movie about Tadeusz Różewicz, the Polish poet that they co-produced. We would love to work with you, either by buying rights to your books or by selling you, hopefully, rights to our books as well. And Bureau is based in Kołobrzeg now, which is a town at the seaside in Poland, so it's just on the other side of the Baltic Sea. So yeah, it's close enough, I hope. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Claudia. I noticed that Bureau does a lot of work in promoting young talent, and you mentioned the workshops and the laboratories that support it, but also the programs and the editorial work. Could you speak a little bit about supporting translators from Polish, so the authors that you publish? Do you also support translators from abroad?
Yeah. I mean, so again, I'm here on behalf of Bureau Literackie. I help them with many projects, be it the festival. I'm a translator as well, so I translate for them for Biblioteka, which is the online magazine that Bureau established. I translate from English, German, and Spanish to Polish, but also from Polish to English. And so far, I've also worked or translated from Polish into English. I translated a short story from Elżbieta Łapczyńska's book into English, and it's waiting for publication. It's going to be published by Berlin Quarterly magazine really soon. And I also translated a work of fiction by Krzysztof Chronowski, who wasn't mentioned here, into English, and it's just been published by LCB Diplomatique. So as you can see, Bureau is really open to work with translators from different languages, and it's really encouraging this sort of cooperation. So, and
do the workshops that Bureau organizes, do they also target translators from Polish or translators into Polish? No, I'm a special case. No, okay. Into Polish, okay. From different European languages. Yeah. Okay, so maybe there is an opportunity that we need to do somehow. I'm particularly interested because you mentioned that much of the work that you publish is kind of experimental on the side of language. So I wonder, how do you negotiate that, or how do you help move or shift the text from Polish to another language? Yeah, it's not easy, as we all know. Translation is on one hand, of course, the ability to read a text, but also you cannot sort of you cannot omit maybe the step of adding your own interpretation to the work as well. So what I experienced with Bureau Literackie has been amazing is receiving help of an established translator, because always when you work with another person who maybe knows a bit more than you, it's really helpful to be in dialogue. Yes, but of course I feel like, especially with poetry, it's not easy, and every translation, even to the same language, is going to be slightly different depending on the person who does it. So yes, I guess receiving help and being in constant dialogue with both the author and other translators who are willing to help. Okay, thank you very much, Claudia. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We have one more publisher before our lunch break, and I would like to invite Dana Blatná from Host, from the Brno-based Czech publishing house with a lot of activities. So, Dana, it's over to you. Do you have a PowerPoint as well? A chcete, aby vás překládal? Ne, dobrý. Okay.
Good morning, everybody. I am afraid I didn't see anybody of you yesterday, which I apologize for, but my colleague from Host Publishing House was here, Nicola, and she told me she had a great time here, and I'm sure most of you managed to talk to her. My name is Dana Blatna, and I manage my own literary agency. I represent top Czech fiction authors, but I also work with children's books. But today I'm here to talk about Host Publishing House. Yes, it's a Brno-based publishing house, and we belong to the best publishing houses in the Czech Republic. Let me start with some backstage info, maybe, about our publishing house. It reminds actually us about some kind of Hollywood story, like three boys fiddling with wires in the garage, and then in a couple of years, all of a sudden, there was a Macintosh computer. Okay, it was slightly different story, but it happened 30 years ago. There were three guys, they were university students, all of them really loving poetry, two of them writing poetry as well, and all of them working for a literary magazine called Host. They decided to establish a publishing house. Gradually, they started with a couple of books a year. It was poetry at first, then it was fiction, and a turning point for these three guys was many years after they established the publishing house. It was in 2008, where they bought rights for Stieg Larsson's Millennium to be published in Czech. A lot of things changed at that time, and now, if I can give you some numbers, it's like this. Host Publishing House has published over 2,000 titles since establishing 30 years ago. We publish books in the genres like general fiction, sci-fi, children's books, fantasy, crime fiction, thrillers, but also popular science or specialist literature, still poetry as well. And all these genres, it's both in translation and in original Czech. Host Publishing House publishes 150 titles a year, roughly, and because I'm here today predominantly to talk about Czech books and Czech authors, let me give you one more number, and it's number 200. We have published so far about 200 books written by Czech authors, and all of them could be translated, of course. And some of them have been already translated, as you will hear later on. The Host Publishing House is a leader in publishing original Czech literature in the Czech Republic, and it means we've got best-selling authors, but we've got also authors who have received many literary prizes. If you compare the number of literary prizes given to Czech authors, I think Host Publishing House would be the leading one, having the great number. I don't think anybody has ever counted this, but I'm quite sure it is like this. most of our authors have already been translated into foreign languages, and let me give you the example of two most important or most successful writers currently. Both of them are ladies. Alena Morsteinová, she is the author of 6 novels. I brought, sorry, I didn't bring so many books as Daniel certainly did with me, but I didn't have any possibility to carry all of them with me. But I've decided to bring just 2 books by 2 most successful authors I'm going to talk about a little bit. So the first one is Alena Morsteinová. This is her latest novel in Czech, and this is her most successful novel so far, her 3rd in a row. And it has been translated already, called Hana. It has been translated already into 17 languages, and 8 more languages are to come very soon, this or the next year. So this is the English version. If you want to read a bit, of course, you could. And this is the book in Czech, the latest one, published just a couple of weeks ago. Alena Morsteinová, she took a big gamble at the age of 50. She decided to quit her job, which was translating and teaching English, and she decided to concentrate on her own writing, and that's really worth this decision. 10 years ago, her first book was published, and 7 years ago or 6 years ago, in 2017, her 3rd novel, Hana, was published. And as I've said, it's already been published in 17 languages, including the world languages like French, German, or English, and 8 more foreign editions are to come, like Italian, for example. Some more numbers. Altogether, 35 foreign editions of Alena Morsteinová's books have been published, and 24 more are in preparation, which gives you, if you count these 2 numbers, nearly 60 volumes of books in translation by Alena Morsteinová, which is quite a pile or a row, it depends. Some more numbers. In the Czech Republic alone, more than 700,000 copies of Alena Morsteinová's books have been sold in the Czech Republic alone. So it's nearly 750,000. Yeah, so if anybody from Norway is interested in Alena Morsteinová's books, probably in her best known book, Hana, the rights are still free for this language market. The other author I would like to say a few words or a few numbers about is Kateřina Tučková. This is most famous book in English, called in Czech Žitkovské bohyně. In English it was translated not the goddesses from Žitková, but as the last goddess, which is easier to understand. It's the English edition published by Amazon Crossing in the USA. The English edition of Hana, Alena Morsteinová's books, was published by a small Welsh publishing house, Parthian Books. I forgot to say before, sorry for that. And this is, again, just an example of a book in original Czech by Kateřina Tučková. It's her latest novel called Bílá voda, White Water, and it's quite a thick book. And this is the 2nd edition, published with beautiful illustrations by Jaromír. Kateřina Tučková's book, The Goddesses of Žitková, was published in Czech in 2012, and it has become such a phenomenon that hundreds and hundreds of tourists come to the region of Žítkova, which is a hilly region at the borders of the Czech Republic and Slovak Republic, and they want to see the places where the characters of the books were born, where they went to school, where they lived. So it really changed the milieu, and actually something similar happened with other books by Kateřina Tučková as well. And again, some numbers, if you allow me. The Goddesses of Žítkova were published in 21 languages already. And in the Czech Republic alone, more than 400,000 copies of Kateřina Tučková's books have been sold. As I've said, I haven't brought so many books with me, but I've brought some catalogs with me. They are in English. Again, sorry, I don't have enough copies, but everything is available online, as I will tell you later on. And these catalogs are published twice a year, and at the very beginning there's the information about the host publishing house. Then there's, of course, the content, some brand new books, understandably, but then my favorite section comes at the back, and it's the photo presentation of all the foreign editions of the most successful authors. I've mentioned just two because I don't have enough time, but there are more. There's also Viktorie Hanišová or Jan Němec, or there's Jiří Hájček or Petra Soukupová, also very successful and widely translated authors. And then, last but not least, there's the backlist, and as I've said before, we've got about 200 titles to choose from for translations. Also, please, if you want to recommend a book, if you want to choose a book written by a Czech author to be translated, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'll do my best to recommend you some. Here's my business cards. And last topic, really, 30 seconds. There's English website, and there's all the information about all the choice of the books in English. There's blurbs, there's information about foreign editions, about foreign rights. There's annotation, and there are no sample translations, but for most of the books I regard the best ones, I've got sample translations into English, into German, into French. Don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I know that we are running 5 minutes late now, but so I have only one question about Host as a publishing house. So over 2,000 titles, a lot of work, 200 titles from Czech authors. Is there a specific mission for the publishing house? Do you think that you have directions or specific interests that you would focus in a few types of literature?
Our special mission is to bring best quality books to our readers. Never mind if they are originally written in the Czech language or if they are translated from foreign languages. The quality is the mission for us to bring good books to our readers, and maybe the other kind of mission would be to find as many readers for our books as well. So we publish many of our books should be for everybody to enjoy, for everybody to learn from about history, about countryside, about people, about relationships, readable books.
Thank you very much. I won't take up any more of your time. Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for listening to me.
The second block officially says that we start at 1:15, but no, let's start at 1:30. So 1:30. If we start on time, we'll manage. Okay. Thank you very much and enjoy the lunch.